So I'm reading from 2 Kings chapter 5, verse 1. Okay. Now Naaman was commander of the army of the king of Aram. He was a great man in the sight of his master and highly regarded because through him the Lord had given victory to Aram. He was a valiant soldier, but he had leprosy. Now bands from Aram had gone out and had taken captive a young girl from Israel, and she served Naaman's wife. She said to her mistress, "If only my master would see the prophet who is in Samaria, he would cure him of his leprosy." Naaman went to his master and told him what the girl from Israel had said. "By all means go," the king of Aram replied. "I will send a letter to the king of Israel." So Naaman left, taking with him 10 talents of silver, 6,000 shekels of gold, and 10 sets of clothing. The letter that he took to the king of Israel read, "With this letter I am sending my servant Naaman to you so that you may cure him of his leprosy." As soon as the king of Israel read the letter, he tore his robes and said, "Am I a god? Can I kill and bring back to life? Why does this fellow send someone to me to be cured of his leprosy? See how he's trying to pick a quarrel with me?" When Elisha, the man of God, heard that the king of Israel had torn his robes, he sent him this message: "Why have you torn your robes? Make the man come to me, and he will know that there is a prophet in Israel." So Naaman went with his horses and chariots and stopped at the door of Elisha's house. Elisha sent a messenger to say to him, "Go wash yourself 7 times in the Jordan, and your flesh will be restored and you will be cleansed." But Naaman went away angry and said, "I thought that he would surely come out to me and stand and call on the name of the Lord his God, wave his hand over the spot and cure me of leprosy. Are not Abana and Pharpar, the rivers in Damascus, better than any of the waters of Israel? Couldn't I wash in them and be cleansed?" So he turned and went off in a rage. Naaman's servants went to him and said, "My father, if the prophet had told you to do some great thing, would you not have done it? How much more then when he tells you, 'Wash and be cleansed'?" So he went down and dipped himself in the Jordan 7 times, as the man of God had told him, and his flesh was restored and became clean like that of a young boy. Then Naaman and all his attendants went back to the man of God. He stood before him and said, "Now I know that there is no God in all the world except in Israel. Please accept now a gift from your servant." The prophet answered, "As surely as the Lord lives whom I serve, I will not accept a thing." And even though Naaman urged him, he refused. "If you will not," said Naaman, "please let me, your servant, be given as much earth as a pair of mules can carry, for your servant will never again make burnt offerings and sacrifices to any other god but the Lord. But may the Lord forgive your servant for this one thing. When my master enters the temple of Rimmon to bow down, and he is leaning on my arm, and I bow there also, when I bow down in the temple of Rimmon, may the Lord forgive your servant for this." "Go in peace," Elisha said. After Naaman had traveled some distance, Gehazi, the servant of Elisha, the man of God, said to himself, "My master was too easy on Naaman, this Aramean, by not accepting from him what he bought. As surely as the Lord lives, I will run after him and get something from him. So Gehazi hurried after Naaman. When Naaman saw him running towards him, he got down from his chariot to meet him. "Is everything all right?" he asked. "Everything is all right," Gehazi answered. "My master sent me to say that 2 young men from the company of the prophets have just come to me from the hill country of Ephraim. Please give them a talent of silver and 2 sets of clothing." "By all means, take 2 talents, said Naaman. He urged Gehazi to accept them, and then tied up the 2 talents of silver in 2 bags with the sets of clothing. He gave them to 2 of his servants, and they carried them ahead of Gehazi. When Gehazi came to the hill, he took the things from the servants and put them away in his house. He sent the men away, and they left. Then he went in and stood before his master Elisha. "Where have you been, Gehazi?" Elisha asked. "Your servant didn't go anywhere," Gehazi answered. But Elisha said to him, "Was not my spirit with you when the man got down from his chariot to meet you? Is this the time to take money or accept clothes, olive groves, vineyards, flocks, herds, or men servants and maid servants? Naaman's leprosy will cling to you and to your descendants forever." Then Gehazi went out from Elisha's presence, and he was leprous as white as snow. Okay, so I can't see you. There's a lot in that. That's not a very long chapter, but there is a huge amount in that. So this is not a theological thing where we need to unpack everything. It's look at what the Spirit is saying. So I've just got a few points. Naaman was a valiant soldier, and he had leprosy. The challenge there is, this is a valiant soldier. He is built on pride. And to have leprosy takes him to a place of humility that he would never, probably ever, have experienced. And to be put in a place of humility where your pride is challenged, for me, that nearly always means that God is doing something in your life. That God is challenging something in your life. He raises up the humble and he tears down the proud. This guy, okay, so for verse 1, it says, "The Lord had given victory to Aram." So the Lord, the God of Israel, gave victory to the foreign army over Israel. The king at the time of this, of Israel, was King Joram. King Joram is the son of Jezebel and Ahab. He did evil in the eyes of the Lord like they'd never sinned before. And God took away his blessing from Israel as a result and gave it to their enemies. The slave girl, who was an Israeli, helped her captor. My question was, why? And I've only come up with two answers. One is either it's the Stockholm syndrome, where you would serve or try and make a connection with your captors as a survival technique. Or the other one I had to come to was, they treated her well. And actually the next verse suggests possibly that. In verse 4, you see, Naaman went to the king because of what the slave girl had said, which to me suggests that Naaman had a closer relationship than what we would perhaps expect slavery to be. That he trusted what she said and acted upon what she said and was willing to go to the king on what she said. He took with him, verse 5, 10 talents of silver. Okay, that is 340 kilos in weight of silver. 6,000 shekels of gold, that's 70 kilos of gold. You wouldn't mind that in your bank account, would you? And 10 sets of clothing. When they say clothing, they mean expensive cloths. They would have rolls of expensive cloth that they would often barter with. In 1 Kings 16, verse 24, King Omri of Israel bought Samaria, bought the whole of Samaria for 2 talents of silver. And this guy rocks up to Samaria with 10 talents of silver. He has got a shed load of money. Do you say that? You have sheds? Yeah, you do. I'm English, I can't help it. Verse 7, when the king read the letter, he tore his robes. Am I a god? This fellow is trying to pick a fight with me. He immediately sees trouble and not opportunity. And for me, when I read this and thought about this, that really spoke of his relationship with God. That he would not immediately say, what are you doing here, Lord? What an opportunity. Now we can make you famous everywhere. Now we can see your glory in Aram. Now we can advance your kingdom. Instead, it's all like zeros in. What does he want to fight me for? It speaks of his relationship with God. And actually something in that just now, when the next problem comes to your front door, it'd be interesting, just look at your response. Why me? Why not my neighbor? Or, okay, Lord, this is impossible, so you're obviously going to step in. What are you going to do? What do I need to do? It just speaks of relationship. Verse 8, Elisha heard the king had tore his robes. That speaks of leadership. That the leader of the people was vulnerable and worried enough to go into mourning and everyone could see. How do you think that affected the rest of the community, the rest of the country, that the king is now torn his robes? It was a sign of, oh my gosh, we're as good as dead. I need to get right with God. Verse 8 also. I love this, man. I love it. It's just brilliant. Make the man come to me, and he will know there is a prophet in Israel. Do you know what I see there? Why didn't he say, make the man come to me, and he will know that there's a God in Israel? Because the man already knew that there was a God in Israel. Everyone knew that there was a God in Israel and that they'd been rescued from Egypt, from slavery. Everyone knew that. They were all aware. That he would know that there's a prophet meant that there was power in Israel. That God had a servant that heard him, trusted him, and through him, God's power would be manifest. So he's saying, let this man who wants to be healed of leprosy come to me so that he will see that there is a prophet in Israel. Then everyone will hear about the power of God. Amen. Do you see? So in 2 Corinthians 5, verse 20, it says that we are ambassadors of Christ, as though God were making his appeal through us. We are the prophets, that they may know that there is a God in Canada. Bring up the prophets, that they may know that there's a prophet in Ontario, that they may know that there is a prophet in Mississauga, that there is a prophet in Streetsville, that there are prophets in Trinity. Come on! Doesn't that really does it for me? That challenges every tiddly little squiggly bit I got in me. This is Old Testament. Elisha is an Old Testament prophet, and he does not have anywhere near the access that you and I do to this stuff, to all the theology and knowledge that you would ever want to know about God and more. He doesn't have it. He can't look with hindsight like we can look with hindsight. At this point, he hadn't even met Jesus. We have. The Spirit of God is in us and has promised to never, ever leave us. Where are the prophets? that he may know that there is a prophet in Israel. You and I have that responsibility. Sorry to put a heavy load on you, but I hope it stirs you up and makes you feel so uncomfortable that you wrestle with it for the rest of your life. Because he has called you and me to be the prophet in this place. Acts 17 verse 26. God has determined where and when you should live. You are here for now, right now, and you are the prophet. You are the evangelist. You are the apostle. You are the teacher. You are the pastor. You are the representative that can show your neighbor that Christ the King is alive. Amen. Not off. Okay, I didn't have any of that written down. Okay, verse 10, Elisha didn't even come out to see Naaman. You know, we get bent out of shape about position, don't we? We get bent out of shape about hierarchy. And this guy comes with more money than what they paid for the land that the prophet is even living in. He has got the ear of the king of Aram. This guy is a bigwig. And he comes and he doesn't even bother coming out to see him. To Elisha, this is just a bloke who needs help. Equality. And the servant goes out and says, oh, my master says just jump in the river. I expect that's how Naaman saw it. He's used to, people bowing down, I expect. I can't really speak about here, because probably would just be stupid, but when I was in England, when I was going through the process of becoming a priest, you have to jump through all these hoops. And not literally, but you have to go through all these things, and everyone's just like the ultimate hoop is the bishop. To see the bishop. And the bishop lives in this palace, and it is a palace, and it's surrounded by a moat. You could not make this up. It's true. It is true. I should have arrived on a horse. But what I found was when the people that were working closely with him, when they would speak about him, they got caught up in the hierarchy. And the bishop was the be-all and end-all. And then you could go to Jesus. So my whole process was about what Jesus is calling me to. And the people who were discerning whether I was to be a priest, their whole process was what the bishop would think. I have great respect, and I have respect for order. I don't think chaos is good. But there has to be humility in that. And we have to be wise, because Jesus is my king. He has called me to be a priest. He has called me to be an ambassador. And it's his call that I'm here, not the bishop's. Just don't tell the bishop that. If you're watching, I'm sorry. Okay, verse 11, Naaman wanted lightning bolts. He's like, man, this river sucks. Where I'm from, they're beautiful. Send me there. I thought he would come out and and it, he wanted this special thing. So when I was in England a couple of weeks ago, I went to the pub, and my brother came, and my brother's not a Christian, and he said, and I was there with 4 Christians, and one of them had brought a friend. They nipped out from a dinner party just to come say hi, and my brother just turned around and went, oh, I did your job for you the other day. And what do you mean you did my job for me? He said, I led someone to Jesus. I said, you led someone to Jesus? He said, yeah. He said, this guy was kind of down on his luck and looked a bit confused about stuff. So he said, I know what you need. You need Jesus in your life. You need to get religion, and you need to get a Bible and read the Bible. That's what you need to do. I said, how come you can do it for someone else, but you don't know it? You can't do it yourself. And I know why, because he's waiting for a lightning bolt. He's got all the answers. Where's Bill? Has he got all the answers, Bill? Yeah. He's been out for a pint with my brother too. And he's like, you've got all the answers, buddy. I set some of these guys on him. It was brilliant. And so I said to my brother, you know, you're waiting for a lightning bolt. Most people just don't get this lightning bolt. It just happens in different ways. And this other guy called, I think his name was Paul, he'd come along. He wasn't a Christian. I said, Paul, do you have Jesus in your life? He went, no. No, I've just come out for a pint of beer, you know. And, okay. All right, sorry. Okay, so I said, and there were 4 other people there. I went, Clive, in 30 seconds, tell these 2 how you found Jesus. And he just shared how he found Jesus. I said, no lightning bolt. Joe, 30 seconds. She shared, no lightning bolt. Gez shared, no lightning bolt. And then last one was Duncan. Dunk, no lightning bolt. I said, you don't need a lightning bolt. You just need to believe. And here, at this moment, Naaman was just being called to be obedient and trust. That's all he had to do. And then the servants, the wise servants, came up to him and said, mate, if he told you to go out and bust a lion or to just, run up a mountain, you'd have done it. Fight 10 men, you'd have done it. Why don't you just jump in the water? He's got the wisdom to see it, to listen, to be humble, and then do it. He goes into the water, verse 14, and he dips himself 7 times. In Leviticus 14, it says that if you want to be healed of leprosy or a skin disease, priests need to come up to you. They need to kill 1 dove, set 1 dove free. They need to get a hyssop branch, mop it in the blood and into water, and flick you 7 times. There's something about the number, can't lift the other 2, 7, that is seen as a whole number. I don't want to get into it because there's a lot of EBGB about it. But there's something about it. And he went and dipped himself in 7 times. When I was in the UK, I met up with my best friend and we went spearfishing. And we had 5 days together. It's glorious. We just laugh and joke and are just a couple of idiots together. We've known each other since we were 10 and we've always been idiots. And we met together, and he doesn't know Jesus, and he has just got psoriasis, and he's got it in the last year, and he is covered in his psoriasis, and he's a very confident man. You can rib him, you know what I mean? You could just take the mickey out of this guy, and he'll just suck it up, and then he'll just boom, hit you back with it. He is always pushing buttons, and yet it's the first time I've ever seen him vulnerable. This psoriasis had chipped away at that confidence. So when he came to pick me up, and then we had to drive a couple of hours to go spearfishing, and we were going to stay there, he came in to say hi to Melanie. It was a hot day, he put a long sleeve top on. I said, what are you doing, me boy? And he said, yeah. And he was really vulnerable about it. I knew I couldn't rib him about the psoriasis because it was too raw for him. Now, he's my best friend. I love him with all my heart. And I want that changed. But what I've learned about having a best friend is you have to respect them. And if I just keep ramming Jesus down this guy's throat, I'm abusing my position and my friendship. He needs to see Jesus in me. So I have to wait and discern when I share with him anything that I think that God wants to say to him. So we stayed in a pod. Actually, I should have got a picture. Of our pod because it looks like a little hobbit house. And we did look like a couple of hobbits after a couple of days, let me tell you. And we were there, and I said, mate, let me just read you a story. And I got my phone out, and I read him this story that you've just heard about Naaman? I said, and he dipped himself in 7 times and he was healed. Wouldn't that be awesome? He's like, yes. That weren't his words, but yes, that would be awesome. And I left it to him. You've got to let God be God. I'd laid it before him. It's up to him whether he picks it up or not. All I can do is pray. Anyway, the next day we went spearfishing and I got out the water. He said, I went in and I still got it. I said, did you go in 7 times? He went, well, no. I said, didn't it say 7 times? He said, yeah, but I thought it just meant just going in once. I went, well, why would you think that? And then we started just like poking each other like, idiot, 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 idiot. But I never said anything else about it. At the end of our 5-day trip, he said, he just started speaking and he was shedding skin. He called himself a snake. He was shedding skin everywhere. Don't feel sorry for him, he's a muppet. He said, well, I've been in the sea 7 times. I've got an appointment in August for new medication. He says, let's hope that all works, eh? I love it. He had got himself back in the water, and he had done it 7 times. That's a step of faith. This is a guy who doesn't believe in anything, and he took a step of faith. I love that. I love that. Treasure your friendships. Respect your friendships. And be good news. And just wait for the opportunity. Just wait for the opportunity. Don't ram it down them. Just be there when they need you. Okay. I love the bit in verse 18. Naaman has been healed, and actually healed and converted. This healing led to his conversion. Now I know there is a God in Israel, and I will worship him. I will worship him alone. Let me take some soil. He was going to go and build an altar, that he would worship God and only God. But he says, but I know that I've got to go to this foreign temple. Well, not foreign, because he's the foreigner. I've got to go to this temple, and will you please forgive me? And you see God's grace upon him right there, don't you? He's just like, go. That is beautiful. Gehazi. I suppose one of the warnings in this story is very easy to be tricked and to be tripped up in your faith. And he saw all of this silver and this gold, and also maybe there was a bit of hatred in there. This was a foreign soldier who was a mighty warrior. He had been mighty against the Israelites. Maybe there was a bit of unforgiveness there, even though he'd sinned God's mercy upon his life, and he wanted something for it. And what I think the real problem there is that Elisha didn't want anything from him because he didn't want to be like the other soothsayers, the other pagan prophets who were there just for the money. He wanted him to be able to experience God's grace for nothing. Verse 25. I might end with this. Where have you been, Gehazi? Elisha knew exactly where he'd been. His spirit was with him. And yet he asked the question, where have you been, Gehazi? The question wasn't for Elisha to know the answer. The question was to challenge and convict Gehazi. You see it in Eden. In Genesis 3, verse 9, the Lord called to the man, where are you? And Adam and Eve were hiding because of their shame. Where are you? Did the Lord not know where they were? Last week, now I know, when he said to Abraham, now I know. Did God not already know? And then Elijah in 1 Kings 19, verse 13. Elijah is in the cave, and he hears a small voice that says, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" That small voice knew exactly what Elijah was doing there. But Elijah needed to ask himself, what am I doing here? So I would encourage us to always listen out for that small voice. And if you get a question like, what am I doing here? Ask yourself, what have I done? What have I done, and how do I change this? Okay, Gehazi was yoked to Elisha. He was aware of God's power like perhaps none of us have ever experienced before in our lives. And yet he was still tripped by the enemy. 1 Peter 5 verse 8 says, "The devil, your enemy, prowls around like a lion looking for those to devour." We need to keep our eyes fixed on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith. It's the only way. It's the only way you'll stay on the straight and narrow. You'll resist all the temptations, is to keep your eyes fixed on your King.